What if you could predict your future? Does this seem too good to be true? It can be done. All it takes is using your mind to give thought to how you want your future to look. What is it that you want to see? How do you want to be? And how do you want your life to go? These questions can be answered by you. This isn't about manifesting, it is about creating. If you want to be healthier, speak to your future healthy self and tell her, what are you doing today to help her be healthier? You want to be happier? What is it that you can tell your future self you are doing today to create a feeling of being happy? Thinner, richer, more of something, or less of anything at all? Dear future self, here's what I am doing today to support you. In this podcast, Dear Future Self, based on the book by the same name, author Susan Axelrod, the confidence coach, interviews women who understand the benefit of speaking out what they want for their lives. Why is this important? Because speaking to your future self supports you here and now. What would you say to your future self? Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of this important podcast. These conversations with women in the second half of life, helping them to understand that they can actually truly create and design the lives that they want to live simply by speaking to their future selves in voice, in resonance, in real time. This is a thesis that I have been working with for several years now, and I use it in my confidence coaching platform. I use it in personal conversations. My friends talk about it with me, and it really, truly works. Today, I am delighted to have a guest who has made a huge impact in my own life. Pam Sullivan of Volution Virtual Services found me, I don't know, many years ago now, 5 or 6 years ago now. We found each other from some networking event or something, and we started working together to support my online platform. Pam is a virtual producer. At that time, it was exactly what I needed. If I had known about this thesis then, I would have said, dear future self, don't worry. Pam has your back. Hi, Pam.
Hi, and thank you. That was so nice.
Pam, I mean every word. You recall when you came into my life, how we met through the platform, the Hammock Way of Life, I believe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what happened. We just started talking and we just found synergy together in our work. At that time, as you may recall, I was developing my first online course called Discovering You Again for women in the second half of life. I knew what I knew, but I had no idea about what you knew and what you did. And your support of me at that time, our working together, I honestly mean this when I say it changed the entire trajectory of my business and my life. So I want to thank you very much for that.
I feel that way too, because I really feel like from that first time we spoke, you just got me. You just knew. And I think you've been doing that ever since. You just did it recently when I saw you had a Facebook post, and it was exactly what I had been thinking and what was on my mind. You couldn't have known that. And we hadn't talked in a little bit. So I do feel that way too.
You know, Pam, the work that has found me, I call intuitive business. And so that's exactly what you're referring to. At that time, when we met, you had a full-time job. You had already known that you wanted to do what is called a side hustle, a side gig, or whatever. And you knew that you wanted to move into it more fully, but really just didn't know how. And you weren't confident to be able to do that. But to be fair, Pam, you have a child and you had a lot of bills to pay. And I always tell my women, keep your day job for a while, right? Keep your day job, get that paycheck that comes consistently to you.
It's true.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think it was within 1 year that we were working together that your life changed at work and you really had to move seriously into the virtual business. Is that what it was?
Yeah, well, it just so happened, that the department that I was in got cut in funding, and so I found myself laid off on unemployment, and I thought, "Okay, well, I guess the universe was giving me a sign," and I ran towards it.
So, in the thesis of this podcast and this discussion, Dear Future Self, what's so important about this, Pam, what I love so much about this is it starts with Dear Younger Self. And at that time, in those moments, we had been working together. And I remember now that you're saying this, that you said to me, I gotta get into go mode. Like, I'm doing this. You could have gotten another job and that would have been also a good thing to do, but you didn't. We worked together, and you crafted and created a life that really supports you personally, your family, and now really a lucrative business. So in those moments, however, that when you found out that your department was going to be closed and that you were going to need a new job or a new life, the department was being closed. There was some discussion, if I'm recalling, that they might keep you somehow. But in those moments, you're in fear. Suddenly your livelihood is gone. And you have to, GSD, as I call it, get shit done to move forward. If in those moments you had known of this Dear Future Self thesis, where in this moment of time, you can speak to your future self and say, well, it's not looking that good right now, but I
Mhm.
got you and I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? Can you feel that?
Yeah, definitely, but, yeah, I was thinking, what should I do? Should I go back to work full time? But I had been thinking about this entrepreneurship and, self-employment for a while before that, but I just, like you said, needed to pay the bills, single mom, that kind of fear, held me back, I think, but yeah, I think if I were to be able to look ahead and, um, because it's something that I had been thinking about for so long, so I really think it wasn't going away. It was just always just in there, and so I think, if I had you back at the beginning to kind of, guide me a little bit and, to do things like this, it would have been easier for me to
Well,
see
what
what could
comes
happen.
up is you said, if I had you, and that's called a resource, right? And the real truth is, especially for women, but men also, but I work with women. I find this frequently and regularly that oftentimes we may see a resource, we may have a resource out in front of us, but we don't access that resource.
Yeah.
And before that, now I work with women to say, really speak to your future self. And Pam, honestly, I do this all the time. I myself have been through extremely difficult years in the past few years, traumatic even, and dealing with grief and and loss and confusion. And I'm not sure that's different from any woman, really, is certainly in the second half of life. And so I do often say this to my future self, which is like, okay, I am experiencing this, but I got you because I'm going to take charge now.
Mhm.
And that's what I see that you did at that time, Pam. Could you speak just for a moment about what Volution Virtual Services is, what you do, because you are such a great resource. Before we get to my big question for you today, to your future self, I want to invite you to share what it is that you do.
Okay. So I'm a virtual producer, and what I do now is similar to what I was doing in corporate. For many years, I ran virtual events at my corporate job. Um, really loved it. Loved the technology and uh, really learned it really well. And so I thought, I help people get comfortable on camera all the time because we do tech checks. I mean, I'm not on camera presenting. I'm behind the scenes kind of helping people and making them comfortable. And they'd always say, I'm so much more at ease because you helped me ahead of time and things like that. And so I thought, okay, take what I'm good at and then run with it. And that's what I did and started slow. I was on Upwork for a while and luckily met some really, really great clients, found me on Upwork. We found each other and started working. And so for many years, I've had the same clients. And so that's what I do for them. And I do video editing and virtual production.
So, luck does have something to do with it. But I remember those days after we started working together. Now it's all really coming back to me. And I remember that what we did was we worked on intentionality.
Yeah.
And I remember the time that you got started with Upwork, where you began to change quickly. It happened quickly, your intentionality, whereby you put in testimonials and
Yeah.
you figured out the system of how to
Mhm.
make Upwork work for you. And then what happened was your intuitive space kicked in. And that's why you had these lucrative, beautiful, connected long-term relationships with clients. Your
Yeah.
skill, what you said was, I love the tech and I learned it well.
Yeah.
So that's skill. And then combined with your intuitive space, where people say to you, I'm so much more at ease now because you helped me get set up to do this presentation. So that's really a beautiful like amalgamation of what it is that I talk about.
Well, I'm glad you reminded me about that because I had forgotten about that, but I really did. I was like, okay, Upwork is what I'm doing right now. That's what I did at the very beginning. And I learned the platform Upwork and how I could use it. And I really did kind of use it as, I don't know, like you would use social media or Facebook. I did my profile exactly how with the keywords and put my expertise. And I ended up having people I never well, Upwork is you bid for jobs. I never had to bid for jobs. People found me and invited me, which um I, I guess, yeah, well,
This is
thank you for
crazy,
I
Pam.
know I learned about that.
I didn't forget about it. I knew
Mhm.
because I was watching it. I just got chills when you said people found me and
They
asked
yeah.
me, hired me.
Until
That
you said
is,
that, I think I never really I mean, I think we had talked about it before, but I hadn't thought about that in so long, but, when I think, "Oh, I can't do social media, I can't do that," I've already done it.
oh, that's so good. And guess
That's funny.
what? You did it in an area that you really needed to. Excuse me for saying, but it was time to shit or get off, like
Right. I was determined. I'm like, I'm doing this. Like I was ready, I guess is that something that you always say too, like, be ready.
Yeah, be ready. Intentionality, determined, ready. And then I'm doing this. I mean, this is so good. And also for our viewers and our listeners, Pam self describes as an introvert. If you listen to the podcast series that we did together called Webcam Confidence for Women, which I will tag in the show notes.
Yeah.
You self-describe as an introvert, Pam,
Yeah.
but yet listening to you be like, I was determined, I'm ready, I'm doing this. That's powerful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Mhm. Well, I mean, I do think, I mean, maybe introvert is a strong word. So maybe introvert's not the right, or maybe an outgoing introvert. I don't know, but I just know that, um, you know, things like this, being on live and presenting myself, is not in my nature. But it's not that I don't like it. It's just not natural for me, but I know it's important for what I'm doing. Um, so
I mean, to prepare for our show today, I went back and listened to most of the episodes that we did in
Mhm.
Webcam Confidence. And you did describe yourself in that way. But
Yeah.
now what we're seeing in real time is the evolved you, Pam.
Right. Well, it was interesting when, and you were like, "Okay, let's do this next week. Will you come on and do this next week?" And then it took me a second. Sure. Okay. Which is not like my nature, but
Mm.
since then I was like curious as to like, how am I going to feel as it gets closer after we did our podcast, and I did some, you know, work on things like that. And so I was like curious, and I found that I really, I was a little bit nervous, but I was more excited, I guess. Um so, right up until we got on, I'm like, okay, am I going to get really nervous? Am I going to like freak out? And I really didn't. I really kind of reviewed, like you said, some of the things and kind of went over those in my mind and did those things. And I can honestly say that helped because of how I'm feeling right now, I
I
guess.
mean, come on, this is crazy. People, go find in the show notes, click on the link to our Webcam Confidence for Women podcast series because it's all in there. It was so good. We did it. It
Mhm.
sits there on my YouTube channel, it's on Transformation Talk Radio Network. And really it's all in there, the evolution of what it is that you're hearing in this discussion. Pam, I love that. Isn't this great?
Yeah. I mean, it was so funny. I was like, even this morning, I was like practicing my angles, my lighting, and I was like taking pictures on my phone to see, okay, if I look here, am I looking in the camera? If I look here. And so, I mean, it was kind of cool. And I kind
Well,
of
this
like, I feel like I'm back with my old friend, my webcam. I really feel like my webcam is like, I really feel like it's like my old friend. I haven't seen my webcam in a while, but there it is.
Oh my gosh, this is so great. What Pam is referring to is material from the podcast series that we did, but also this is the producer in you. So, what you're doing, which is
Mm,
so important right now in this conversation, is showing us you're self producing, you're using your own intuitive skills and expertise on yourself. And that's where authenticity comes from. That's what
yeah.
people tell me all the time. Like, you're the real deal, like we see it in you. You walk the talk or something
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what's happening here. So, Pam, I want to ask you now, if you were to have a conversation with your future self, what would you say to her?
I wrote something down because I knew you were gonna ask me.
Great.
Um, so I guess in thinking about that question, I kind of thought what has been on my mind and wanting to do, and I really, um, I had the virtual presenter studio where we were helping others practice on webcam so they can feel more confident, make videos, and get on lives. And I really, um, it's been on my mind to want to start doing that again. Um, and so that's something that's always been, when I thought about starting my own business and things like that, like that's one thing that's really important to me is helping others and teaching them kind of what I've learned and things. And so I think keeping that in my mind to my future self, like doing these things, you're going to help help those. So this is what I wrote. Do you want me to just read it?
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead. I love it.
All right. So, dear future self, wow, look at you. Way to go. Not letting fear hold you back. It's good to see you not so afraid of success and to show it off and not hide it away. I bet you feel strong and confident, like you could take on the world. You now have the tools, the support, the mindset, and the systems in place. And just like you did 5 years ago, and I wanted to interrupt myself. I realized in July is my 5 year anniversary of how I've been full time
Ah, so
since
great.
2019. So just like you did 5 years ago, you're running through that open window and you're not looking back. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Best of all, you're sharing your experience, expertise, and your journey with others to help them do the same. Don't forget that. It's what's going to keep you going.
Oh my gosh. I love my life right now. I really do
That
because
has you, your, in my mind, kind of written into
mm,
it, weaved in there.
that's so good. There's so much in there. But before I say anything else, I just want to say I hope you'll print this out. I hope you'll put it on your desk. I hope you'll read it every day for a while so that it could really integrate and synthesize the evolution of you. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, you were quieter, you were nervous,
Mm,
you were, since you said it out loud, I can say it again, you were a single parent. Um, and 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 things were hard.
yeah.
And today you're a business owner, you're a confident woman, you have finance, your financial accounts have grown. I know this because we talked about it. Because I still would say to you, as I say to everyone, I don't care if you need to get a job, do what it takes to have financial security and independence first. And then we'll grow the side or we'll grow the rest later. So I know that in 5 years, you've done that. And that quote, which I hope you'll send to me so I can share in the show notes if you're willing,
Mhm.
um, is is so important for your future self to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the virtual presenter studio, which you mentioned briefly. Somehow along the way, Pam had conceptualized this idea and shared it with me early before it was when it was an idea. And it was something that you thought about and thought deeply about. And it stemmed intuitively, Pam,
Yeah.
from your expertise and what the resonance was when people told you things, right?
Mhm.
And so somehow in my life, I just know things. And VPS, as we call it, was one of them. When Pam shared this idea with me, a virtual presenter studio where you can come in and be coached in confidence and in production, right online from anywhere in the world, I said yes immediately, didn't I?
Mhm. Yeah.
I did. I said yes immediately. I got it because I've been going live for almost 15 years now, not with the consistency that I do now, but as I look back and Facebook sends me these reminders and whatnot, I've been going live a long time. I've been doing video for a long time. So I've also developed this intuition and also expertise in certain ways. So Pam, let's play for a moment. Not to put you on the spot, but I will because I have the words in front of me that you said: intentionality, determined, ready, I'm doing this. I wonder if you want to speak to yourself in 2028, 5 years from now.
Mhm.
This is you today in your skin, in your voice, in your intuition, in your mind, in your imagination, in your body, looking at her. She's
Yeah.
gorgeous, by the way. Looking at her and saying what? What is it that you do want to say to her
Don't,
about the VPS?
yeah. Don't be afraid to do different things. Uh, try it. Try everything. Stick with it. Um, and don't be afraid, and don't hide. Get out there. And don't don't hide. Don't keep it to yourself.
Right. So, because you have given me a lot of grace in this way in our time together, in our friendship, and in our work together, I'm not going to ask permission. I'm just going to say what I would want you to say to your 2028 future self about the virtual presenter studio, which you said to us before. It's been on my mind. I knew it was a good idea then. I know it's a good idea, and I do want to do something about it. Dear 2028 self, I am going to look at VPS differently. I'm not going to be afraid to do this. I am going to try it now. I am going to stick with it. I am not going to hide, and I'm not going to keep it to myself today. So 5 years from now, you will have a developed, formed, lucrative, profitable service line called VPS as part of Volution Virtual Services.
Yes.
Can you feel the difference in that's really the dear future self?
So the difference in looking forward rather than looking back. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it's not just looking forward. It's with the same intentionality, with the same determination. And these are your words, not mine. I didn't tell you to say them. And with readiness, because I heard what you said, because I listened deeply, and I heard you say, I devised this idea. I liked it then. I like it now. This business idea has stood the test of time for you because of your entire business model that you have been working in for 5 years now, with profitable outcomes. And so I want my future self to know I'm doing this now. And so she is going to have the VPS as a formed, functional, profitable service line.
Yes.
Not don't look ahead, don't look back. It's not about that. It's a little bit more like I'm doing this now so you can have fun from the benefits of having VPS as a formed service line.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And that's really the dear future self thesis. So you know that I'm all in on this. I got it right away. And for our viewers who are watching this video, this is the full deal, folks. This is what we would be doing with you. You would come privately online with us into the Zoom room, and we would listen to what you're talking about, listen to your presentation, and share our expertise with you in real time so that in pretty short order, you're going to be confident on webcam, that you're going to be a proficient speaker, understanding what virtual production is, doing some of it yourself, perhaps hiring a producer because you realize the benefits of that, and surely growing your financial accounts. How does that sound?
Awesome.
Great. Pam, I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited. And thank you for coming to the room today. And also thank you for taking this seriously. And don't forget to send me your dear future self quote so I can share it with the world.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Great to see you. And I'll see you in the studio.
See you in the studio.